other main thing I'm testing out on this raft is using wet blending on all of the larger sections of the model. What I do is take two
Right, in this video I want to get back to the sport of power lifting. As you can see, I'm highlighting my bench press section. I was able to get 405 pounds on the football bar, and I haven't done that in a few months. I really do actually think I could have got 2 reps, but without a spotter, I get really scared. I almost killed myself a few months ago working out with the camber bar, and I didn't set my safety spotter arms up on my rack, and I almost pinned myself. And ever since that happened, I've been really hesitant to go heavy without a spotter. Even though the spotter arms are there, I know it's going to stop it, but I don't know, it's just like this mental thing I got to get over. That being said, I'm starting to train to compete. The goal is I want to compete in October at the WRPF Nationals with fellow content creators Cephas and Tommy H5. Now, these are 2 exceptional lifters, and what I want to do with this video is highlight them. For any of my followers and subscribers that don't know who these 2 gentlemen are, you need to find out, because they are awesome. Now, before I talk about those 2 awesome gentlemen, I wanted to run something by you that just happened. Get your opinion on it. Kind of butthurt, I'll be honest with you. I work with iron workers, and I have for years. But I'm not one of them. I was a union steel worker by trade. It's a different union does different things. Iron workers do like the erection of the steel, that kind of thing, and steel workers usually work foundries, chemical plants, that kind of thing. So it's like they produce the raw materials. So there's a lot of crossover, and that is how I met them. Great bunch of guys, but they have a really tight camaraderie. It's kind of like the Marine Corps. You know, you could be in the Army and be stationed on a Marine Corps base, or maybe you're a corpsman or in the Navy or whatever, and you could work with them, and they treat you like a brother. We're very protective of our corpsmen, but they go out of their way to remind you every once in a while that you're not one of them. You know what I mean? And sometimes you get too friendly, and you get to thinking like you're part of the tribe, and something happens, and they let you know real quick. And I think that's kind of what happened today. I have this one crew that I kind of spoil. I go out of my way to help them. Like, I do a lot of stuff that's outside of my job scope, just because it's kind of convenient and it's easy to do. An example would be every single day I drive by our shop on the way to pick my kids up from school. It's like right along the way. So I will pick stuff. I'll try to pick stuff up for the guys and get them what they need, and that's not my job scope. That isn't. A matter of fact, I've gotten in trouble for it before. My boss has chastised me for doing things that are not in our scope, and I think the reason why he does, I always wondered, like, why does he care? Like, if I want to help out, you know, be useful, I think it's because of things like this. You know, I had set some equipment aside for one of the guys who I really like, really cool dude, and there were some issues with the gear and the inventory. It was a brand we don't normally carry, and there was some discussion as to what to do with it, and they were actually going to throw it out. A brand new gear in the packaging, or tie-off lanyards. They're real nice, light ones, are really easy to use, especially when you're in a boom lift. The ones we have are heavy, they're uncomfortable, and it's hot out. So even though I couldn't legally issue these, I was going to keep them on the side and just kind of give them to the guys, because they're legal to use. There's nothing illegal about them, but they're brand new in the package. They're just not a brand we carry. Well, they got thrown out. And I had promised to get them, and they got thrown out. There was a miscommunication. It happens. It wasn't done on purpose. There was no malice behind it. And I think they got kind of upset him. Maybe I upset a couple people, because I promised them I'd get those for him, and I wasn't able to follow through. But again, it wasn't anything intentional. Well, today, I was down on the job site, and I was talking to one of the new hires, and I was inspecting his gear, and the gentleman I'm talking about yelled at me and told me, hey, they need to get him up there on the structural steel. Like I was holding him up. This dude was sitting down there for 15 minutes fumbling around with his shit, because it wasn't fitting right. And I just happened to walk up, and I talked to him for all 20 seconds. Not to mention, I'm the area, I run Las Vegas. I'm the safety manager. So one, you don't have the authority to tell me that shit. But okay, but I understand it's production. You know, you don't want to slow the crews down, and even we know that. Like, time is money. So if I'm holding them up from getting their job done, that they fall behind, and it's generally understood that we don't just needlessly interrupt production. I get that, I totally do. But in this instance, he kind of snapped at me, and I just looked at him like, this motherfucker, you know. And I thought about, I got the hair in the back of my neck stood up just because of the way he kind of came at me, and I was thinking like, you know, like getting his ass, like just go. But then, for whatever reason, I didn't. I just kind of left. Went ahead and took my lunch, and now I'm making this video. And I was thinking about it. I'm like, why didn't you say something to him, or you know, like, or this is the what I've been wrestling with in my head is, should I have said something, or do you let it go? I mean, it's hot out. Maybe he was just, you know, and they are in a hurry. I mean, maybe am I reading too much into it? I'm like doing that whole thing in my head, you know, like, you being a bitch, or are you making a bigger deal out of it than you should be? And I got to just thinking about, like, well, what is your motivation for doing all this stuff for them? It's because you want them to like you, and you want to be part of the group, and you want to be accepted. So you're not really doing this stuff for you. You're not doing it because you think it's the right thing to do. It's a good job. You're doing it to please other people, and that's what I kind of had to confront, because that's not good. You should, you know, I've talked about it in the past. People pleasing is. That'll just, it causes nothing but problems. When you're doing stuff for other people, and your motivations are to get something in return, even if it's something as simple as just wanting someone to like you, that's a condition, and you're no longer giving freely. Like, I'm not giving something to you because I want to do it. I'm giving it to you because I expect something in return, and that expectation is, you know, I want to be accepted by the crew, and I want them all to like me. So I had to check my motivations, and I'm thinking, like, you know what? I'm not necessarily going to stop doing what I'm doing, because I don't really have a justification to say, I mean, I can't help you because it's not my job when I drive right by the place every day. But I am no longer going to go out of my way just to try to get friendly with people. You know what I mean? I'm going to work on that boundary, and that's something I've had to work on for a lot of my adult life. You know, that's been an issue of mine. It's like, I was that nerdy kid that got picked on, and I wanted just to be accepted by someone. I mean, you see it, like, that's where all the table games and all the nerd stuff, like, I hung out with those guys, and we had a lot of fun, but we were that little outcast group that nobody wanted to play with, and we were the last picked when it was, you know, time to play basketball or whatever. I brought the ball, though. You know what, man? I had some chops. I had some real hoop skills. I actually wound up playing a pretty high level of basketball, and they still picked me last every time. It was so maddening. They picked guys that were bigger and taller than me because I was a short little sucker. And I would run all over them. And it was just like, it just used to piss me off. Anyway, that's childhood trauma. We're not going to get into that. But I just wanted to get you guys' thoughts on the whole people-pleasing thing. You know, like, it's something you struggle with. I would think to some degree we all want everyone to like us and accept us. But then, you know, when does it become a mental health issue? You know, because that's that nice guy thing. That's the start of becoming an incel. You know, you try to be nice to women and they don't reciprocate, so you secretly become resentful. Well, it's the same thing with work. You know, you let people walk all over you. You try to be nice, and they don't reciprocate, and you wind up getting resentful and angry, and it sucks. Which is why it's super important to just give freely, and to do things for yourself. To do a good job because you want to do a good job, not because you think someone else is going to give you recognition. Because I'm here to tell you, in the real world, they won't. They remind me every day that I'm still safety, and they don't really want me around, no matter how nice I am. It is what it is, man. I took the job. I knew what I was getting into. All right, now let's talk about these animals I'm going to be potentially lifting with in October. Now, I'm going to start with Tommy H5, because everybody knows Cephas. You all know him. You all love him. He's an amazing animal. Tommy H5, one of the most legitimate lifters I've ever met in my life. There's only a handful of guys I've seen that can do what he can do. And yet, I have never seen a guy get so much crap for the stuff he posts. I mean, It kind of works out conjugate. Uses a lot of bands, chains. What do they call that? When the resistance changes throughout the curve. The dynamic resistance. Hit me in the comments. Tell me what that's called. But basically, using bands changes the amount of weight through the curve. Obviously, the farther away you are and the more the band stretches, the heavier it gets. So it's going to be heavier at the top, unless you have the bands pulling from the bottom, or depending on which direction you have them set up. Chains, the same thing. The idea is you have your chains laying on a pile on the ground, and they're hooked up to the bar. So when you start lifting that bar, as the chain comes up off the ground, it adds weight. So the higher you go, the heavier it gets. And there's a changing the weight through the curve and accelerating. It adds a whole. I'm telling you, it's unbelievable, especially if your goal is a 1 rep max type situation like powerlifting or Olympic lifting or some other strength sport. Bands and chains are almost a must. I don't work out with them a lot only because I don't really own the equipment. I have bands, but here in the desert, you got to be super careful because they get really brittle when you store them in the garage. So if you're going to buy bands, you got to make sure you store them properly. Chains, I don't often use chains, but what I do use is I use the slingshot, which is the same thing. It's accommodating resistance. And I use the bench block, which changes the range of motion, where you can overload the weights, similar principles. He does all of it. Now, every time he posts one of those videos, someone invariably says something like that. It's cheating, or it's the way just ego lifting, or you're just showing off, or the bands are stupid. I watched a video today where a guy literally said, why do you want to use bands? You could use a Smith machine to do the same thing. And I was like, when I started thinking about that, my nose started bleeding. Like, what? What? That doesn't even begin to make sense. The Smith machine makes you squat in a single plane. It takes away so much from the lift. It takes away the stability. Don't get me wrong, the Smith machine's awesome for a lot of stuff. Prophet Fear would be a good resource for that, and he's got me doing some stuff that I would love to have a Smith machine. I wish I had one. You can do some really, really awesome, like, specific movement work, especially in extreme ranges of motion, and the Smith machine accommodates you being able to get balance and get in those positions. But what are we talking about? We're talking about putting a ton of weight on a bar and using bands. It's like a no-brainer. Like, he'll specifically use them on a squat bar, and the bands, as you lower the weight, they take weight off of the bar because the band's stretching out, and it becomes a lot lighter at the bottom. He puts so much weight on the bar that the idea is when he's in the hole, he's probably a few pounds over what he would normally be, which is your linear progression. But then as he's coming back up again, all that tension comes off the bands, and now he's pushing, hundreds of pounds more than he's normally used to, which is that overload. I mean, that's just like, it's a crazy way to get strength. But at the end of the day, you could say what you want about bands and chains, but he's competing for a possible 2,000 plus pound total. Like, what do you say to that? I have a guy, like right now, I think he's in the 1900s, and he's going to be hopefully in the 2000s when he competes in October. It's like, you're going to criticize the way the guy trains? That just blows me away. If anything, I'd be like, no, tell me how you're doing this stuff. I want to be able to bench 500 pounds. I want to be able to squat 700 pounds. I want to be able to deadlift 900 pounds. Like, you tell me how you're doing it. If anything, you should be listening to this guy, not criticizing him, especially if you're a dial that can't even, put 3 plates on the bar. It just blows me away, the criticism he gets when he's such an amazing lifter. It's just like, well, how much more do you have to lift before YouTube just shuts up and goes, no, that's pretty cool? I mean, Eddie Hall, when he broke the deadlift record, he had a suit on, so I don't know. It's like the guy's bleeding and he's about to die from a brain hemorrhage. And not too many people talk crap about that. I guess at a certain point, if you've got so much weight on the bar that it's just so far above what the limits of the human body are capable of, that you just look like a moron criticizing somebody. Like, I read one comment where somebody was criticizing Julius Maddox with his bench form, and I'm like thinking, like, there's not a human that's ever lived that's benched more raw than that man, and you're going to criticize his bench for him. Like, I don't even know what to say at that point. Hey, that's YouTube, man. That's the comment section. Gotta love it. And then there's Cephas. You know him, you love him. 3 years. In the 3 years I've been watching him lift, I have never in my life met anybody who's made the progress as quickly as he's made progress. Especially, considering his weight and age. He's in his mid-30s, upper 30s. How old are you, Cephas? And, for lifting, that's still a very strong age group, but it ain't no spring chicken. You don't see a lot of, 37, 38-year-olds trying out for the NFL. And there's a reason for that. So, as we get older, but that's the one cool thing about the sport of powerlifting is you can go well into your 40s and 50s, and as long as you approach it correctly, you don't lose a whole lot of strength. As you're seeing with me, I'm still PRing. This isn't about me, though. It's about him. So, 3 years I've been watching him lift. He's made such incredible progress. I think he started out his first competition with a mid 1,400 pounds total, and now he's flirting with 1,800 pounds, 1,800 pound total. And here I am. On my last meet, I finished mid 1,600s, and I was pretty happy with that. Now, granted, I am the oldest of the three, and I will be 50 in July, so there is that to consider. But come on, I normally say my age just to say it, just because it's like kind of cool to be like, yeah, look what I'm doing at the age of 50. But if I'm being 100% honest, I don't really feel like I'm that old. I don't think I have the mileage that most guys my age have, because I started lifting later in life. And I got some, good genetics. I just don't. I don't really see the age thing at all. I have to remind myself I'm going to be 50. I got to tone it down sometimes, because I don't know. I feel like I lost a couple decades somewhere. But but Cephas, my man, holy crap! I don't know what to say. I'm astonished when I watch you go. The way you just address the weight and just go. You just go, grip it and rip it, but you do it with good form and consistency. I've watched you lift, and I've had criticisms in my head that I thought about leveraging. Like, man, he does way too much volume. I was like, good Lord, he goes heavy every week. Like, you got to stop that. I never said anything, and here's the reason why. Because it seems to be working for you, whatever you're doing, and I have no right to talk anything. But I think I would struggle if I did your exact program. I think it would probably kill me. We did that Candido 6-week smash and grab for this last competition, and that put me through the ringer. I don't think I could have done a 7th week, but watching YouTube day in and day out just throw those weights around, and it's just crazy. And I am honored. I'm honored that I'll be able to compete with you guys, and I really hope it comes together and happens. I really do. Man, think about it. Back in the day, we had channels on YouTube with 100 subscribers or whatever, and all we did is talk crap about each other. All these stupid drama channels, and they would just talk shit about your lifts, and it was like a little vile, ugly corner of the internet, and there's still a little bit of residue that sticks, kind of follows you around a little. You know what I'm talking about. But I really do see you breaking away from that. Every metrics, the numbers you're lifting, your social media presence, it looks like I'm hoping that you'll be able to be a professional lifter, and if you got a side hustle, you got a side hustle, as opposed to having to work construction full time and training on the side of that. How cool would it be if we just lifted for a living? We made enough money through sponsorships or endorsements or all that where you could just lift. Wouldn't that be just magical? I got it pretty good though. I kind of like my setup. I don't know how many years I've got left in me anyways. Like I said, I hope I get to the point where I'm flirting with 2,000 subscribers. That blows me away. And I love you guys. I have a lot of fun doing these videos, and I'm going to continue to do them. And I love the little community that, the little discourse that we've created, the people that comment, and even the bad comments. It gives me, stuff to work with. I think that's fun too. I don't know. You guys, you tell me what you think. I need to get back to work. This is my lunch break. I just had to get away from there, man. Those guys, assholes. Yeah, I gotta get back to work. I love you guys. I'll see you on the battlefield.